Illinois faces some big challenges. Today, you're about to hear a truly honest analysis of the problems we face. Equally important, you'll also hear an in-depth discussion of some practical solutions. This is your radio source for stories, the insight, and the answers you won't hear anywhere else, not on the media, and not coming from Springfield. You're listening to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project. Now, here's your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Welcome to another edition of Illinois Rising. I'm Joe Kaiser, filling in for Dan Proft, who is on an extended vacation after the 4th of July holiday. Joining me in studio is the Vice President of the Illinois Opportunity Project, my friend Mark Cavers. Mark, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and got a lot to cover today. First, want to get into a kind of a local topic that has more statewide implications. A couple months ago, in March, more people became aware of the property tax scam that's going on in Cook County. I mean, people have been awakening to this for a couple of years now, but it really came to the forefront when Cook County Assessor Joe Berrios lost his primary race to Fritz Kagi, who's going to be the new Cook County Assessor. And a lot of issues came up in that race. One, Joe Berrios was hiring members of his family to high-priced positions in the county. But a lot of that had to do also with the property tax system in Cook County. Joe Berrios is also the chairman of the Cook County Democratic Party and an ally of Mike Madigan. Mike Madigan, property tax appeals lawyer. They're working side by side to, keep Cook County property taxes high to the benefit of Mike Madigan. And this is a model that's been frustrating for Cook County voters as they learn more about it. But there's also this possibility that other counties in the collar counties might be adopting this.
Yeah, and you see what happened in Chicago, and you say, okay, well, Madigan's business interests were just closed off or hopefully limited, and so now they're looking for new markets. So you have a state representative, Sam Yingling, who's up in Lake County, Illinois, with some of the highest property taxes in the nation, and his idea is we're going to take that Cook County model and we're going to replicate it up here in Lake County because it's worked out so well for the people in Cook County. Everything you're talking about came to light. Berrios has been there for 8 years. So it took 8 years of him doing damage, hiring family, having questionable at best and discriminatory at worst property tax evaluation processes. And now Sam Yingling wants to replicate it in Lake County.
Yeah, so this bill, Senate Bill 2544, has passed both houses, waiting a signature from Governor Rauner, would have an elected assessor in Cook County. So on the one hand, it's nice to have accountability, to have an elected position. There's people who want an elected school board in Chicago to have more accountability for the school board. I get that. But at the same time, and I think Lake County voters would have this opinion, is Chicago and Cook County are not very popular statewide. Mike Madigan's not very popular statewide. And taking this model to other places, especially coming from somebody who has voted for Mike Madigan for speaker several times, Sam Yingling, doesn't seem to be something that would be doesn't inspire hope for transparency if I was a Lake County voter.
No, and you see this, you think about it and say, okay, so if you have an elected county assessor and the campaign for that assessor seat, who's going to donate money to the county assessor and why? Because the county assessor is a principled individual who's going to advance reform policies? I guess maybe. But the model we've seen in Chicago is Joe Berrios got $250,000 from property tax appeals attorneys who then turn around and bring appeals to his office. And so if you're thinking about, okay, who has a vested interest in helping to elect a county assessor, it's going to be the people, the big businesses, the juiced in organizations that can then turn around and significantly lower the property tax bills and by extension hike property taxes on everyday families, middle income homeowners who can't pay for an attorney, who don't understand the system, who don't make big campaign donations.
Yeah, and then you see this example. You have the example in Cook County, Joe Berrios having all of the clout he has in the Democratic Party. It's important that you mention the fact that who's going to donate to this elected assessor. it's going to be a political position. It'd be a whole political operation, and that's the fear. And this isn't why, this fact alone isn't why Illinois property taxes are high. There's a number of factors we'll get into a little bit later in the show, the number of units of government in Illinois. But I think the thing that really frustrates taxpayers is this idea of, there's one set of rules for the politicians and the political class, and they're gaming the system for their benefit, which you see in Cook County, you see with Mike Madigan and Joe Berrios. And there's another set of rules for taxpayers, for middle-income homeowners, who are bearing the brunt of the damage from the rules that the political class sets up. And this is a perfect example. You've seen it play out in real time in Cook County. There's no reason to replicate this model of corruption across the state. Obviously, Chicago exports a lot of corruption to the rest of the state, as Chicago politicians have run Springfield for several decades. But you mentioned the highest property taxes, among the highest property taxes in the nation in Lake County, also in McHenry County. A lot of the collar counties have some of the highest property taxes in the nation. Downstate Coles County, Macomb County. There are places in Illinois that are paying, the property taxes are just not manageable for homeowners, and exporting this kind of model that leads itself to corruption is not going to help that.
No, and to put a tangible example on it, every time you turn on your TV, you hear about J.B. Pritzker ripping out the toilets from his home, and he is being mocked for that, and rightfully so, because there's a different set of rules that apply for him. You know who actually, at the end of the day, slashed the property taxes? Well, that goes to the assessor, and that goes to Joe Berrios. So there's two sides of the story. There's J.B. Pritzker, who appeals it and is at fault for that, and then it's Joe Berrios and this system that he's set up in order to provide tax breaks to billionaires in their second mansion if they pull out the toilets. It's absurd.
The Pritzker anecdote is hilarious. I don't know if Rauner's commercials do a really good job of painting that picture, but the idea that this guy who's running for governor, who's been involved in Democratic Party politics for decades in the state, has 2 Gold Coast mansions, first of all. And then in one of the Gold Coast mansions, he has the wherewithal, not even the fact that he did it, the fact that he knows that he can do this, he can pull this off, to remove all the toilets from one of his 2 Gold Coast mansions so that it becomes considered uninhabitable, and therefore the property taxes are lower. It's a perfect anecdote about how there's one set of rules for this group of people, another set of rules for everybody else.
And then you have the system, so it benefits people who know the rules, who are juiced in, people like Pritzker. And then you have Madigan, who, his business is appealing these, and Ed Burke, whose business is appealing these, and John Cullerton, part of his business, and Rob Martwick, and the list goes on. And we all remember the Mike Madigan, in a good year, I make $1 million. Right. And where does that money come from? It comes from appealing property taxes for the rich and the connected. And we're going to take that model and give Madigan new business and new clients up in Lake County. That doesn't really make sense to me.
So this issue should really, especially with property taxes being the number one issue for a lot of Illinois families, this issue should transcend party lines and ideological lines and really resonate with Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals. And a lot of people should say this is unacceptable that some of the most powerful politicians in the state of Illinois are making their livelihood ripping off homeowners. And the nominee for one of the 2 major parties for governor has benefited from the system. It should transcend party lines, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I mean, J.B. Pritzker still leads the governor's race, obviously because Bruce Rauner has been a very unpopular governor, and legislative seats are a toss-up. How do you think you can take this kind of esoteric, kind of hard to understand argument and policy issue and bring it to the forefront for homeowners?
I think the biggest thing is showing the contrast. I mean, you think about Sam Yingling, and I don't know if there is a politician who has done less and promised more. Back in 2009, when he was a local government official, he was championing property tax relief. And this year you have every elected Democrat saying, hey, we voted 18 times for a property tax freeze. And so, you pick up your head, and if you're a Republican candidate, you say, how's it going for you? Sam Yingling, he's pounding property tax relief. And his genius proposal to lower your property tax, the Cook County model, an elected assessor. Well, how is the assessor going to lower my property taxes? Any property tax break you get, someone else's have to go up. And so, you can present, we talk about all the time, a 1% hard cap on property taxes. Let's talk about actually no smoke and mirrors, no new government elected official, no new bureaucracy. Let's talk about actually lowering property taxes. And that's a choice. If you think, okay, Sam needs another 6 years to get another elected official in office, or, if we take this model and this elected official from Cook County and put them in Lake County and somehow that's going to lower my property taxes. No, let's present a actual plan to lower real dollars property taxes and go back to all the things you said. Lower, consolidating the most units of government in the country. Illinois has 7,000. Lowering the highest prevailing wage costs in the nation. Lowering some of the worst workers' compensation costs in the nation. Let's talk about doing reforms that will actually lower property taxes.